Hey everyone, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer for Geek Vibes Nation, and I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I am Dylan Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for Geek Vibes Nation and also a co host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Attic new release roundup. As always, we have a lot of great titles to talk about, but you have a giveaway.
Yes, we know we love a giveaway here. So I have two documentaries. I have not watched these, but they sound very interesting. And I know you will probably be reviewing at least one of those in future weeks. These are two DVDs from First Run Features. The first one is Paul Taylor Creative Domain, which is about the legendary choreographer who's been like studying dance for over 60 years. He this seems like a really interesting man, and he has some great bonus features, including a Q&A, an interview with Paul Taylor, and so it's a really fun documentary about a dance master. So that should be fun. And then also Riders of the Purple Stage, the making of a Western opera. So this is the one I think that you're going to be reviewing in future weeks. So a Western opera, I mean, I'm here for it. So I'll have to probably pick up a copy for myself. But these both sound very interesting. Two interesting documentaries. I know we have some documentary fans out there. So if you are interested in trying to win both of these, just comment with what release from this episode most interests you. What kind of tickles your brain? You're like, ooh, that sounds interesting, because we want to hear about it. We think like this would be a great opportunity to win some good movies. So just engage with us a little bit. That's all we ask. And like and share and whatever. Do all the things. Just support us and we'll support you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, who doesn't like free stuff, especially free movies?
Absolutely.
And with that, I'm going to be talking about my first title, which is one that I was really excited about because I am a big Terrence Hill, Bud Spencer fan, and I believe that this was their first pairing, and that is Ace High from Kino Studio Classics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the cover.
Good old Eli Wallach.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into it. He's great in this. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer. But so same as the back. I don't think this. No, it doesn't have reversible art. But yeah. So this kind of plays almost like a greatest hits of Italian westerns. Like by that I mean like you kind of have all the hallmarks. You have great set pieces. Like the actors would go on to do a lot of other like Italian westerns. As I mentioned, Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer are this pretty iconic duo, and they've made a string of movies together. And as I mentioned, I believe this is their first like pairing, and Eli Wallach is in this, and he is so good. I would say he like impish is kind of how I would describe his character. Like he is just an agent of chaos, and I really like how they sort of like keep his motivations a little bit ambiguous. Like you never kind of know where he stands. Now, of course, a little bit like I don't I'm trying to be a little bit vague about some stuff because I don't want to give away like any major plot points, but I will just say that you always are not really sure exactly like what he's striving for. Like sometimes he does some nice things, sometimes he's a little bit of a evil influence. So he's
yeah,
like again an agent of chaos.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a really fun movie. I also wanted to mention that it has some amazing like shootout set pieces like that. I mean, honestly, for something that was probably on a modest budget, really impressed me. So it's a lot of fun. It's maybe not one of my favorite Italian westerns, but I was really entertained. I think it didn't have to be over 2 hours long. I think like the pacing is a little like tedious at times, but overall I had a really fun time with it. So this comes from a new 4K scan of the 35 millimeter print, and it looks great. It's pretty crisp and clear, I would say, and it's nice because it's not like, depending on how it was filmed, you sometimes tend to get this like softness, which is not really the case here. Everything really looks well defined, crisp, clean. Not really even any artifacts or damage that I could like see. So this looks fantastic. If you are a fan of this movie, this is probably the best it's ever looked. If you are just discovering it, like I was just discovering it, it's great, especially if you are a Terrence Hill Bud Spencer fan, which I am. And this comes from a commentary by Alex Koch, who is a cult filmmaker and, side note, probably one of the worst interview subjects I've ever had to date.
Ooh, what a fun addition to the conversation.
And he has a lot of fans. I don't want to piss anybody off. He just, it is what it is. I'll just say. But it's there if you enjoy that. Kino Studio Classics really put out a nice presentation overall. Again, like, I was really impressed by this movie, especially on a budget. But yeah, it's a good time, and not a lot of features, but the commentary. I'm always a big commentary track fan, so I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah, great. I got to check that one out, and I thought it was a really good movie. And I always love a movie that can make a card game seem so intense and high stakes. Like, it was filmed very effectively. So kudos to them for that. Moving on to my first titles. I'm talking about a trio of titles, but these are going to be no stranger to most people. So I'll probably go through these as quickly as I can. That is the first three Child's Play movies on 4K Ultra HD. I'm a little late on these. These came out in August, but I just missed the Halloween season for them. But now I finally got to them, and I had a lot of fun with these. I have a weird history with Chucky because I think I've watched stuff out of order and I haven't watched all of them. I know I've seen the original Child's Play before, and I think I've seen like maybe Seed of Chucky, and I'm not sure if I've seen anything else after watching the 2 and 3. I'm like, I don't think I've seen these before, but I was glad to be able to check all these out in 4K. I will go kind of title by title and just kind of tell a little bit about this. The first Child's Play movie, it's the OG, it's the classic, and I think it is probably my favorite of the three. They all have kind of like not different tones, but different kind of narrative drives. This is actually a 3-disc set, one 4K disc, one remastered Blu-ray disc, and then a whole disc for special features. I don't think this one does have reversible art. I know some of these don't. So the reversible art here, you have, and it had been a very long time since I had seen the original Child's Play movie. But I like the balance of kind of the dark comedy with the actual like horrific elements of it. I think this is the most effective of the three in terms of like actually delivering kind of unsettling moments. The next two movies kind of lean more into like the campiness of the whole situation. But the first Child's Play movie, I think, is a very effective as a horror movie, like for what it's trying to accomplish. And I think it's like a very great introduction to like Chucky as like a villain, and just the whole origin story and all that. I think it's a very nice contained movie. All these movies are pretty compact, of like around 90 minutes or so, which I really appreciate. They pack a lot into kind of a shorter runtime. This transfer is amazing. It's a 4K. All of these are 4K scans of the original camera negative in Dolby Vision with new Dolby Atmos audio along with original audio. So I'll just say that up top, like it's a blanket statement for all of these. This looks really great. It sounds really great. I didn't notice any audio issues. There are, like I said, a ton of special features. There are three like real commentary tracks, and then a select commentary track with Chucky commenting on stuff. There are interviews with writer Don Mancini, some of the actors, the producers. There's those are all new. Then there's the bonus disc has all the archival featurettes, including like interviews with Don Mancini, or like different interviews with like about the doll, and additional like archival interviews and all that stuff. So this is packed with special features, and it looks great. So that's cool. Second Child's Play movie. I love how like both 2 and 3, whenever they bring Chucky back, like they have to bring him back. I love how it leans into how like corporations are inherently evil and they just want to make a profit, and that's kind of like the downfall of man, of just like, these people are like blowing this situation out of proportion. There is no killer doll. Let's get this back into production. It's just like, no, what are you doing? But this is a lot of fun. I read your article from earlier this month, or not this month, this year, whenever you were talking about what you wanted to see in the Chucky series. And I had kind of that in the back of my mind of like how it treats the mom character from the first film, and how she hasn't apparently been seen since, and outside of like photos, which I do hope she does come back at some. I'm not sure if that actress would ever come back, but it would be interesting to see her, because they just keep saying like she's in the institution, basically, like she's lost her mind.
Yeah, and just a really quick aside to that, like she has, I believe, like given interviews about this movie, and she sees it very fondly, and I believe she married Kevin Yeager, right? Or am I saying that?
I'm actually not sure. I all I know that she spent like 11 seasons on Seventh Heaven. So.
Yeah. But yeah, we want to see her back. We love her.
Yeah. So her presence was missed, but the additions are like what we did give for Child's Play 2. This is just a good campy fun. I like that Andy is still like a cute little kid, still like contending with Chucky and like dealing with the fallout of all that. This also looks really good. The sound isn't quite as good as the first film. It seems like you had to turn it up a little bit, but I think it overall sounds really great. And then the original audio tracks, like they sound really good. The Atmos track just kind of sounds like a little weak, but not terrible. So this comes with a commentary track with the director and a bunch of new interviews with like Don Mancini. Again, Don Mancini is all over these. He's happy to, the writer, he's happy to give interviews for all of these. With the actors, I do want to point out this has an interview with Beth Grant, which I love Beth Grant. So yes, I know you do. So I had to bring her up. Like it's a short interview. It's like 6 minutes, but it's great. And I think I was glad that they got her for this. So Child's Play 2, still a lot of fun. Child's Play 3, I still like it. I think it's my least of these three. It's Andy, a little bit more grown up, going to a military school, still kind of out of place. There's a lot of stuff I do really like about this. The writing just seems to become like even more self-aware and like going more for the one-liners, which I do appreciate, but I just do kind of miss that first tone of the like where it was like not malicious, but more like darker in the first movie, and like had that nice blend of seriousness and like humor. But I do like this movie, and there's a lot of like fun moments in it. Once again, I don't think this has reversible cover art. No, just the first film does. But here you go. So I'm curious because I haven't watched beyond these, so I'm curious to see how they keep bringing him back and seeing how people keep messing up like his final demise. But it is what it is. I do like the finale of this when they're in the woods and like all that. Like it's a pretty solid finale, but it does seem to kind of end very abruptly, and I'm just like, okay. It just kind of like seemed like they were done with it. But overall, still had fun with it. Had fun with all three. Once again, looks really good. The sound is pretty great. There's like a 1 second audio dropout that I noticed on the Atmos track in one spot, but other than that, seems pretty solid. And the original audio tracks are unaffected. So There's a lot of great comment or interviews with this. Once again, audio commentary with the producers and the the producer and the director has a commentary as well. And then there are interviews with the writers, the writer Dan Mancini, the actors, and some of the makeup people and some of like the crafts people. So it's a stacked release. So try to go through all these because I'm as quick as I could, since I know people are pretty familiar with Child's Play. They don't need me to going step by step, but I do want to say, if you're a fan, these releases are really great. There's so many amazing special features that Scream Factory did for these releases. And I do hope they do release the rest of the series. I have the 7-film Blu-ray set, but I do want to continue this on 4K if possible. Hopefully next year. They completed the Halloween, like the main Halloween movies this year, so hopefully they'll do the same next year for Chucky. So Scream Factory, awesome job on these. I'm you probably already own these, but like they're a lot of fun.
I'm a big fan of these, and they're really awesome releases. I kind of love how each sequel kind of has its own sort of like tone and flavor. And I love Beth Grant. One of my aspirations in life is just to be her best friend, and also at least just interview her someday. So
fingers crossed. If I ever see anything like any interview opportunities with Beth Grant, no matter the movie, I'll be like, Mike, let's do this. Let's get this going.
You will be able to hear me from where, because I will be screaming so loud. But yeah, so my next title is Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie, which is Aqua Teen Forever Plantasm.
Yay.
And first of all, I always have to commend Warner Brothers. This is really nice packaging. Here's the back. And take the slipcover off. This does have a digital copy. This isn't in there right now, but yours will have it. And it also comes with a really cool poster. Which I have to be really careful. I think I actually accidentally tore it already.
Oh no. That's a pretty substantial poster.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So it's not reversible, it's just the one side, but really nice. And have you seen this?
I have not yet. I'm really excited because
oh my gosh,
as we talked about before, I love Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to check this out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was gonna say, like, it was nice because I just did a deep dive of the complete series. And I kind of just forgot how wonderfully bizarre and surreal the show is. And I really like how they kind of like took that bizarre humor and translated it really nicely to this. So here we get kind of like a I guess in the future, the gang has kind of gone their own way. They're all kind of just schlepping around trying to pick up the pieces basically, and like this is like them getting back together, assembling the team, and we have a really funny sort of like Amazon-ish Jeff Bezos adjacent character who's kind of like the big bad and develops all these like killer plants. So it's really fun. I mean, I think it's like less than a half an hour in, the Moonanites hijack the film that we're watching, which is very much in line with Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So stuff like that just tickled me to death. And then there's also just really dumb stuff, like one of the plants has a gun. Like I feel like our humor is pretty comparable, and like little stuff like that just like I'm a man child sometimes. It tickles me to death. So yeah, it's Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like I said, there are some bits that maybe don't work, but I feel like even though I love this show, there are some like tangents that maybe work and some maybe don't as well, but overall it's really fun. There's a lot of great visual gags. And I really love the satirical like bent that the film has. It's not subtle at all, but that's, I don't think ATH ever was subtle about
Who
what they were
needs
trying to say.
subtlety?
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think if you are a big fan, they really do again carry over that surrealist humor. It's just sometimes it's just a stream of logic and consciousness that you're just going with here. Um, this does have some nice features. Again, Warner Brothers didn't just dump this out. We do have a commentary track that's really great. And I love a good commentary track. It's got a music video, deleted scenes, and a behind the scenes featurette. And again, those are just some really fun, like deep dives into the movie, into like the making of it, which I found really fascinating. And yeah, it's really fun. I'm really excited to hear what you think of this because it's just encapsulates the humor and the style and just like everything that is really fun about Aqua Teen. So um I loved it. I think it's, if you're a fan, and you maybe are on the fence, check it out. It's a good time.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this, and I feel such whiplash because the complete series just came out on DVD, and now this is getting 4K. I don't know what to believe. So I'm really glad that this came like falling right after this, like the DVD set. So I'm living large this year. I'm so excited. My next title is another one from Scream Factory. This is a newer release that is coming up soon, and that is The Company of Wolves,
Mm.
from director Neil Jordan, uh, from like Interview with the Vampire and I think The Crying Game. Is that right? I believe so. So this one is interesting because this kind of goes well with what I was just saying, where this film prior to this 4K release had not received even a Blu-ray release domestically. It had just been on DVD. So it just jumped right to 4K, which I appreciate. Like if you have the elements, might as well. So Screen Factory, they treated this right, and they got a 4K scan of the original camera negative. They present this in Dolby Vision, and they have the original DTS 2.0 audio, which sounds really great. I think I can't remember if I showed the interior. I will do it again just so I do not overlook it. So this one, it's an interesting film. I don't think it's perfect, but it's like a weird dark fairy tale where a girl moves into a new house at the beginning, and it's kind of like more contemporary but not completely contemporary. It's probably like 1970s London or so. But then whenever she falls asleep, she goes into kind of this dream world that's kind of like a almost like an Alice in Wonderland situation, but it's like she's living this life like in the past, and she's has conversations with her granny where they her tell stories about wolves and like different like situations like involving wolves, and like kind of ingraining this lore within her of just like how like not like what to look out for in the world. And it's got kind of like an allegory for like keeping yourself like safe and like protect like also like wrestling with like burgeoning like sexuality and desire, and there's all kinds of stuff mixed within this. And also it's like kind of a horror film too. So this isn't it's kind of like a horror film in that like American Werewolf in London is a horror film. Like there are horrific elements, but there's also like some lighthearted elements as well. And it's like a really good balance. I will say what made me think of American Werewolf in London this has some of the gnarliest practical like werewolf effects that I've seen, like this side of American Werewolf in London. There are like moments where like a man completely takes off his skin and you just see like exposed like tendons and stuff, and then like slowly morphing into like a werewolf. And I was just like, ooh, this is like, everyone always talks about American Werewolf in London's transition, and it is an all-time classic, of course. But this one, I was just like, ooh, this is crispy. This is a lot of this is a lot, but in a really good way. I really enjoyed it. And while I will not say that the finale was completely satisfying, it kind of like ended like on a almost like a shrug, like okay. But I overall the journey itself, I think it's very enjoyable, and it's kind of like a mixture of like a girl like learning more about like herself and the world, mixed with like kind of like an anthology storytelling with like just different like interesting story about wolves. And I do really love that they use practical special effects. I love that. I miss like people doing practical special effects. Like I think there's too much reliance on digital like CGI these days, because I just, even if it's a little like rough around the edges, I just love practical effects. The performances are really strong. Everyone plays this as if this is like an aristocratic like English drama, which I love. They put a lot of like care into their performances, and yeah, it's a solid like dark fairy tale. Also, gotta shout out the late Angela Lansbury plays like grandma. She is the one telling the story. So like it did my heart well to see her, but it did make me miss her a lot. She just does such a good job. And it was so nice to see her. So if you're a fan of Angela Lansbury, which you should be, like this is a good role for her. It's like nice to see her like in a darker role. So like I said, this looks really great in Dolby Vision in 4K. It's really this scan that they did is really nice. They've cleaned up like pretty much all of like the dirt and artifacts and all that stuff. Really deep black levels. It does kind of have kind of a softer, dreamier look, which goes with like kind of the aesthetic of the film, because it is kind of like a dream world. But it is like crisp when it needs to be, kind of like aesthetically pleasing, like dreaminess, haziness when it's supposed to as well. This is not as packed with special features as the Child's Play films, but it has some really good ones. There is a commentary track with the producers and one of the actors. There's also a second commentary track with director Neil Jordan. There's another couple of interviews with the composer and one of the actors. And so, yeah, I wanted to say the actor's name. So the interviews with producer Chris Brown and special effects makeup artist Christopher Tucker. It does not list the actor, but there's an interview with one of the actors as well. The special features are really good. Nice. So overall, for a film that has not even received a Blu-ray release, this is an excellent upgrade from Scream Factory. So Company of Wolves, really fun werewolf film, but just don't expect like full-on terror. It's more like fairy tale. So it's a good time.
Nice. Yeah, that is one I definitely haven't seen, but I really want to. And now that it has a beautiful new re-release, sounds like I need to get my butt into gear and check that out, because that sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
My next one is a doozy, and it's one that I was really excited about when they announced it, and that is Casablanca in 4K. Again, we were talking about Warner Brothers and their presentation. I mean, I think this really sells just how much of a classic this movie is. There's a better look at the features. This is really stacked. And there's no reversible art, but here is the discs. This does have a digital copy. It's not in there now, but yours will have it. Yeah. I mean, what do you say about a film like Casablanca? It's considered probably one of the greatest movies of its era, if not of all time. And it's really interesting because a lot of like fans at the time and now, and scholars have kind of like made the point of like how this like Bogart's character is such a metaphor for the US, like kind of dragging its heels and then ultimately entering the Second World War. And like, you know, it's such a really interesting kind of like dynamic when you sort of look at it through that prism. So I mean, yeah, this movie is incredibly well acted. Bogart is probably at his maybe best here, and this is outside of maybe like some of his noir stuff is probably his most famous film. And of course Ingrid Bergman is fantastic, and the two play off each other just amazingly. Visually, this film is great. It has that expressionistic lighting, which would be a little bit more prominent in like the noir movement, which I guess kind of like kicked off like during wartime, but also maybe boomed more post-war. I am by no means a noir scholar, so don't don't come after me, but you know, it's definitely I don't know if I wouldn't consider this a film noir, but it definitely has that noir kind of flavor to it. It's just beautiful. It's just one of those like um you know, conflict and doomed romance kind of movie with a finale that is just so iconic. Everybody knows it. And yeah, I love how like I showed this to my husband the other night, and like he was just completely engaged throughout, because it is a classic for a reason. Everything is firing on all cylinders. Michael Curtiz's direction, you know, the cinematography, the just everything. So I was like really pretty excited about this release. So it doesn't look like there's any new features. This is all legacy stuff, but again, over the years they have provided some really nice supplemental material for this. So I kind of wish that there would have been maybe like a booklet or something. But yeah, it does have a wealth of information to do like a nice deep dive. This has two commentary tracks, um and yeah, just like a host of features, deleted scenes, outtakes. I mean, you name it, it's got it. So yeah, I mean, what more can you say? It's fantastic. So I've seen this like I've owned this previously on Blu-ray, and I will say that it is such a massive upgrade. It's just like there's some prints that I mean the contrasting isn't quite right. Like stuff maybe will look a little too dark. Again, this movie is so visually like provocative that you know you want the balance quite right. So the contrasting here between the black and white is really nice. Things come in like crystal clear focus. There's no artifacts, there's no debris. I mean, it's just a really stunning like it's like kind of jaw-dropping. I think it's one of the best new restorations that I've seen this year. And I, you know, and we've seen some good ones. So
Yeah.
have you had a chance to check this release out yet?
Not yet. I plan on doing that this weekend. This is actually an upgrade for me from HD DVD, if you remember that dead format.
Wow.
So
Nice.
I'm anxiously anticipating this because I need to retire that like yesterday. So very excited to check this out.
Yeah, it is again, you know, if you're like a film fan and you happen to have never seen this, I mean, now is like the perfect time. But if you are a firm fan of this, you know, it is well worth the upgrade. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yes, I'm eagerly anticipating getting into my copy because it's been a while since I've seen it. So it would be great to see it in 4K. My next title, I think it's my last multi-film title, and don't be too intimidated. There are 7 films in this, but I think I can go through it pretty quickly. This is from Shout Factory, and this is the Sonny Chiba collection.
Nice.
Which this has been such a great year for martial arts. And like there's, I know Arrow has a new Shaw scope set coming out soon, so I was very excited to delve into another artist who I don't know a lot of his work, but I know he is, it's a name that I've like seen around ever since I was young and like kind of learning more about martial arts. So we have 4 discs in here. We have this first disc with Yakuza Wolf. I perform murder, and Yakuza Wolf 2. Extend my condolences. Then yes, great titles. Then we have disc 2 here with Bodyguard Kiba and Bodyguard Kiba 2. Then we have disc 3 with Shogun's Shadow and Samurai Reincarnation. And then disc 4 here with Swords of Vengeance. And there's not any reversible cover art, but you do just kind of get a little like synopsis and everything and like details about these on the back. So you can take that out and look at that if you don't want to queue up the website or something. So these films, like I said, I think I can go through these quickly because some of them share similar qualities, especially since some of them are like sequels, which I'll kind of get into that. Some of the sequel is a loose definition for some of these, such as the first one, the Yakuza Wolf movies. I perform murder and extend my condolences. So these are probably some of my lesser of these 7 titles, but I do think they're really interesting. The first one, it's more of like a straight up exploitation / revenge film. It's just like a guy, his Yakuza boss, which I believe is actually his father, is killed, and his sister is kind of taken and sold off into basically sexual slavery, and he goes to seek revenge on the people who have made this happen. And there are this movie is like, I don't know what I was expecting. I did not expect as much nudity as is in this movie and like sexual violence. There's a lot of sexual violence, which I was just like, ooh, that's not exactly what I was wanting from my experience. But they're like, it's not continuous, but there's a lot of it. So if you're sensitive to that, just be aware. But there's a lot of good action in this movie when they're not exploiting women and getting into all that. It's just not one of my favorites of this set. But as a revenge tale, it's solid. The second Yakuza Wolf movie is interesting because it doesn't seem to actually follow the same character. I think they just kind of found a movie that was similar and just slapped the Yakuza Wolf branding on it and just like Yakuza Wolf 2, good. It's more of what I kind of expected. I think I read that some people find it to be a more boring version of the first movie. I did not find it particularly boring. I think it's a perfectly solid revenge tale. You just have like this character played by Sonny Chiba, just once again seeking revenge within like a Yakuza structure. It's a classic story. It's like not groundbreaking, but there's some really solid action in this. The next like group of movies I want to talk about are the Bodyguard Kiba movies, which are somewhat more related, but still don't seem to particularly care about continuity between the two. So Chiba in the first one, he plays more of like a all-around body, like not all around, but a bodyguard who is like looking to make a reputation. And like at the beginning of the movie, I believe this is the one where he intentionally stops like a crime in order to get on TV so he can promote that he is a bodyguard and just be like, yeah, I don't really care about justice or anything, but I wanted to prove my skills. So if you want to hire me, here I am. Like, I will be your bodyguard. And he does get hired on to be a bodyguard, and he does an admirable job of protecting his subject throughout the movie. And there's like a whole like web of conspiracy and like intrigue and all that stuff. Bodyguard Kiba 2, he goes undercover in like a nightclub situation. And there's like a kind of cat and mouse dynamic with the club owner where he is both the employee of, but also in like an antagonist to like the bodyguards, like played by Chiba. So it's a pretty solid like 1-2 punch of movies for this particular disc. I enjoyed these much like more than the Yakuza Wolf movies, which were pretty good for what they were. The next 3 movies is where I kind of got more into my groove. Once again, I think the opinions are split on like what people generally prefer who are Sonny Chiba fans. This is where we started getting more into kind of like the period movies and kind of going more like throwback stuff. I will say this next movie, Shogun Shadow, that I talked about, there are some really bizarre moments in it. But the basic premise of this is it's like a movie where there is a young, like pretty much like a young boy's entire family is killed. He is the last in like a lineage, and he is needed to be protected by like this group of villagers who are trying to protect him from like this evil like force who is trying to like snuff him out so he can be like unopposed, like with lineage stuff. Like he is the chosen ruler, but if I snuff him out, I can be the ruler, that type of thing. So a young boy is being protected by a group of men. So what's interesting about this, beyond just like it's a pretty solid journey movie with like there's like a cute kid and there's like good action, there are instances of like anachronistic rock music that just punctuates certain like scenes, like chase scenes. You'll just hear like guitar riffs and stuff. I was like, what is going on? I was not expecting this. But it's fun. Like it's a really solid movie. It was just unexpected rock music when I like it, just the whole movie had not been that, and then it just like cue up the rock music. That's cool. Next movie, Samurai's Reincarnation. This one I think you would particularly like because there's horror elements in this. Yeah, it's basically a demon like kind of comes and like resurrects like these fallen samurai to oppose like this kind of dynasty, and then Sonny Chiba plays someone who is trying to protect the family from these like undead warriors. It's a pretty fun like genre movie. I wasn't like I didn't really read up on a lot of these before going into this. So I was just along for the journey, and so just to find like something a little bit different and a little bit like horror and like influence was a lot of fun. Maybe just slightly too long. I will say the first 4 movies I talked about were all about 90 minutes long. These last 2 movies I talked about were just under 2 hours long, which like didn't drag too much, but I think could have been trimmed a little bit. But did have a lot of fun with this. The final movie, Swords of Vengeance. This has its own disc for a reason. It is an epic. It is 2 hours and 40 minutes, which, yeah, just a little bit of background for the audience. I asked you to like record this a little bit later in the week than normal because I was trying to fit in so many movies this week, and I was just like Mike, I just need a few extra days because there's so many movies I'm trying to get through. Between like the 3 Chucky movies and these 7 movies, that's 10 movies, like in addition to the 5 others that I'm doing. There's a ton of movies this week. But this 2 hour and 40-minute movie was not something I was planning on penciling into my schedule, but it was worth it. It's a lot of fun. It basically, it tells the story. It's a classic story of like the 47 Ronin, but it's a very nice, thoughtful, considered exploration of that tale, and they kind of approach it from different facets of like different characters. Like this 2 hour and 40-minute epic runtime does give ample time to like go with the different like some of the different factions and characters, which like really develops like a nice rich narrative, which I think it's a really solid addition to this movie. It might be my favorite. Either this or Samurai Reincarnation are probably my favorites, but this whole set is a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. This isn't stacked with special features. I think each film is like provided with a trailer, and then they have a 27-minute interview with Sonny Chiba. It's like probably from like a decade or 2 ago, whenever he was promoting the new release of like the Street Fighter films that he acted in. But he also kind of talks about his career as a whole, which it's a really solid interview. And these transfers, while not perfect, are pretty solid. If you've seen the Arrow video, like Shawscope said, they're probably pretty comparable. These are transfers provided from Toei. There's a little bit of like nicks and scratches that still remain, but overall, solid HD presentations. the 2.0 original audio, and then like English subtitles for all. So, and for 7 films, this is relatively inexpensive. I believe this is maybe like $60 on Amazon now, which is like less than $10 a film. Pretty, like for Shout Factory, pretty good. Like I appreciate that. So the Sonny Chiba collection, this is a lot of fun if you're into like martial arts, and there's a lot, like a wide array of genres within this set. So I hope they actually do another set, because this got me more interested in Sonny Chiba. But this is a really good start. Looking forward to like more of this. So Shout Factory, thank you. This is a really great late addition to the year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big Sonny Chiba fan, so I'm gonna definitely have to check that out. Oh my gosh, check that out.
Yeah.
So um my next title is one that I was really intrigued because I'm familiar with the DC comic series, and that is Sweet Tooth.
Mm, yeah.
And here is the back. And we'll pop this bad boy open. It's 2 discs. And yeah, this was a really interesting adaptation. So this was developed as a series in 2018, and I kind of mentioned that because this is the comic itself was written in 2009, and I mention this because there's a global pandemic. So watching it now, and also going back and kind of reading the comics, certainly hits way different than it did like back in the day.
Yeah.
So I say this was developed in 2018, but I believe that the show came out 2021. The plot is about a global pandemic that wipes out most humans, and then about this same time, like babies are being born that are like half human, half animal, which they just call hybrids. And there's a lot of like, the biggest question is, did the hybrids bring the virus, or is it the other way around? So it's a really interesting kind of microcosm of like what would happen in this exact scenario. Like, and the comic is much darker in tone. Like the characters are actually a lot uglier in the comics. They really well, you can see like the titular Sweet Tooth is if you look at how he's drawn in the comics, it is very different. But anyways, um so if you're a fan of the comics and you like that kind of dark tone, you might not like the show because it does soften that a little bit. But I will say that there are some very disturbing things in this. Like, there's like a whole sort of like neighborhood that hasn't been wiped out of like survivors. And so in the series, like this pandemic comes in waves, and anybody in this neighborhood that shows like any sign of like having the sickness, they just burn your house. They just like purge you, and it's so unsettling. There's one really chilling scene where they burn this guy's house down, and they sing Old Anxiety while they do it. I won't ever, like you'll never be able to kind of like listen to that the same way again. But it's really fascinating. Again, there's being more familiar with the comics, it was interesting how there was some like characters that were just completely changed or reworked for the series, versus like there's some characters that are just completely made up to serve the story. And honestly, like I'm fine with that. Like I don't need a one-to-one adaptation, because I'm sure like like when you adapt something, you're gonna it's there are very different mediums, and you're gonna need to kind of like adapt that in kind of a different way. So Yeah, I mean it's I wish there was things that were a little bit more faithful, but like overall it's a really great show. Again, it's very compelling. Um Even though it's not as dark as the comics, there are like I said, some really kind of disturbing things. And I mean again, like watching this, you know, I mean we're still kind of in the midst of the pandemic, even though it's a lot better. It definitely is a little bit more unsettling because I mean this this stuff is talking about like paranoia and misinformation and prejudice and like um yeah, it's all stuff that just kind of is sort of coming true. So you know um yeah, so it's really good though. The show, I don't want to spoil anything, but it does sort of like tease some elements of the comics that they're probably going to try to fold into next season. So I'm really excited. Is this something that you've seen yet?
Yeah, I reviewed it for the site. I was really excited that this came out on Blu-ray. I believe it's a Netflix show, and I support any like streaming shows like that still getting a Blu-ray release. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I was not familiar with the source material, but I did enjoy what the show was.
Yeah, if you get a chance, I mean the comics are really interesting. But again, I think that like the violence in the comics are like way more amped up than like this is a little bit more like you're there's like some shootings, you don't really see anything, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not like somebody that's like I have to see carnage all the time. Like it's this is definitely aimed, is it like TV 14, I think?
Probably.
Or
Yeah.
something like that. So, it is kind of geared towards a slightly younger demographic, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, especially since like this does sort of bring attention to the comics, which I think are like was pretty sorely underrated. So,
Nice. Yeah. My next title is from a label I deeply love, and that is the first 4K release from Classic Flicks, I the Jury, which this is not just 4K. This is also a 3D release of a classic film noir, which I will just state up front. I will not be able to review all aspects of this because I do not have a 3D TV and player and all that. So, um, but if you are 3D capable, this is very exciting for you. But you don't have to have 3D to also watch the Blu-ray, which it is included on. But if you're 4K capable, you can also watch the 4K disc, which is what I did. And so you have three options to watch this movie. You have no excuses. Um, but there's no interior art like a reversible art, but there is interior artwork like this photo, which is nice, just a nice classy touch, which I appreciate. So this film, it's a like I said, it's a film noir. It's cinematography by John Alton, so that's already a plus in the column. This it's not like completely groundbreaking in the plot or anything, but it's a really well executed film noir. It's basically there is a kind of like a gumshoe detective type who at the beginning of the film goes to like visit his buddy who has just freshly been murdered. So whenever he gets there, he kind of like the police are called and they kind of the police are going to investigate, but also he wants to investigate. So he kind of like blows through the movie as kind of like a one man jury. He's like trying to investigate, but also kind of seek justice on behalf of his friend who kind of like saved his life in the war and all that type of stuff. So throughout this, he's like investigating all the clues, meeting some colorful characters as you do in this kind of like investigation, and just kind of like it all kind of uh, ends in like a spectacular revelation. But it's a really well done movie. I will say, since it is like filmed for 3D, you do have some of those moments where like the beginning, like opening credits, is like his friend who is just like freshly, I think he's been shot, is like crawling on the ground like with his hand like extended out for like full three-dimensional effect, which is fun. But overall, it's a really entertaining film noir. I think the resolution, like the culprit, it's like not unexpected, but it's like well done, well handled. Their reasoning, I think it all works as a very solid, intriguing film noir. The 4K presentation does not have high dynamic range. So I think it's a similar situation. I believe it was The Apartment earlier this year that Kino put out. There was no like high dynamic range, but just the 4K increase in resolution is really nice, offers more stability for the disc. It looks really good in 4K. So I'm glad they did do it even without the high dynamic range. But the Blu-ray also looks really nice. Both have come from a source that has been newly remastered by the UCLA Film Archives, which they always do really great work. And while I cannot review the 3D disc, I will say from other reviews that I have read, because I did want to try to like give some information, it seems to be a solid 3D transfer. There doesn't seem to be any misalignment issues from what I have heard. I cannot verify this. This is just secondhand. So if there are, don't shoot me. I'm just saying. I don't want my own investigation. Like, I don't want this to lead to another movie about my murder. So, but overall, this is a really solid package. And it also comes with like 2 audio commentary tracks, one archival, one new, and then like a 10-minute piece on the 3D like technology of the time, like how they implemented this. They have like 3 like television episodes like of like things related, like noirish television episodes related to this, and just like some trailers and stuff. It's a pretty solid packaging, and I'm glad that Classic Flicks has put such care into this. I know that fans of 3D films are like starved for content, so this is a really solid release. It's a really entertaining movie and a good release. So Classic Flicks did a fantastic job with this.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I haven't seen that one. I have heard of it, so this sounds like the perfect time to actually check that out. So I know it's not quite even Thanksgiving yet, but listen, you were saying don't shoot you. Also, don't shoot me as well, because we are getting into some holiday films. So we review these as we get these. So disclaimer. I know you and I both love Christmas movies though. So
yeah, I've been watching since November 1st. So
yeah.
like, I am who I
am. Same. So we have the classic Christmas specials collection in 4K, and also includes the Blu-ray discs. So really nice. I don't know if you can see that, but it is raised. Really cool. So this comes from Universal, and the back. And now I will say, just be really careful when you open this, because my discs were in the greatest, like as far as like firmly in. So just be slightly careful. Like it's but it has like the gatefold discs. And this does have a digital copy that's not in there now, but yours will have one. So rewatching these was a lot of fun. They're not very long. Like they're all pretty like under feature film length. So Frosty the Snowman was the first one that I watched, and this one only clocks in at like 25 minutes. And this was a special from 1969. So this is the only hand-drawn feature in this set. And I think it's really charming to see that, because in a world sort of dominated by 3D animation, it's always really incredible to see this kind of lost art form come to life. Which brings me to my next point, which is just how charming and engaging the animation is here. And the painted backgrounds are great. The story is really not that groundbreaking. I mean, it's like based on a song, so what are you gonna do? Um if you're also a fan of that movie Doubt,
Oh,
you'll remember the Frosty thing. But anyways, that's a little side tangent. Doubt is such a great movie. But anyways, yeah, this isn't the most amazing looking animation. It's certainly not like at the level at like Disney. But for its budget, it looks really nice. Again, the story's pretty simple, but it's also targeted towards kids. So it is suitably charming and whimsical. And, you literally have a twirling, mustachioed villain, which is always fun. Yeah, now I will say the 4K looks overall great. The film grain and temperature fluctuations does tend to pop up here or there. So it's probably out of the three of these the one that is maybe the most lacking, but overall it's really good because like this is overall like a really stellar collection as far as like not only content but just like transfers as well. So honestly, I don't think it was enough to really distract me from anything. Like if I wasn't necessarily looking for things like this, I probably wouldn't have really like there wasn't anything like glaringly bad about this transfer. But it's fair to point out that it's not like flawless, but that's
yeah.
fine. So getting into the first of the rest of these are stop motion animation, of course, from Rankin and Bass, and that is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And it's so funny because I always forget how much a dick Santa is in this movie.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
he really is just kind of like a crotchety old like Santa. It's kind of wild, but yeah, this is a fun movie. There's been a lot of bad faith criticisms about this movie not having the best message, and I get it. It's sort of like you don't have you know unless we can exploit your otherness, um you know as long as we can commodify that in some way, then you'll fit in and you'll be liked. But I don't think that. I think that's maybe just it's based on a kid's book and a song, and
Mhm.
it's not supposed to be that deep. But I will say that this is such a weird special, like especially
Yeah.
when they get to the island of misfit toys. And oh, I'm like blanking on the king lion, like Moonbeam or
Uh,
something. It's just
yeah, I
really,
think that's right.
yeah, it's really trippy. But I think it's a lot of fun. And this 4K presentation is really stunning, and I think it is a major upgrade from the Blu-ray release. There's no artifacts or flaws that I could see, and I really think that it allows you to kind of fully appreciate the Rankin and Bass stop motion animation. Um, so like I think like the upgrade in that is worth the price of the set alone. And then we have Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which of course is based on the song of the same name. And it's kind of funny because this is like basically like an origin story for Santa.
Yeah.
It is really like cute how they take a lot of the customs and they sort of like reverse engineer like where why we hang up stockings, how Santa got his suit, how Santa got his groove back, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's some really good like memorable songs. This was one that I weirdly have seen the least of over the years, but it is really good. The stop motion animation I think is slightly better than Rudolph. Because I just think they were a little bit more skilled at this time. And kind of like Rudolph, this 4K presentation looks fantastic as well. Like it's pretty comparable to Rudolph as far as like clarity. Like these are very colorful movies and they do pop really nicely. And again, you can like it's so like the high def, you can really like see like the textures of like the stop motion puppets and just how like much of a lost art stop motion really is. So this is an overall really nice set. I believe like this is all just legacy features. Um, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is just all ported over from previous releases. Having said that, you can see there's a ton of features. This is really
Yeah.
nice, and again, this does have the Blu-ray set. If you are not like 4K ready yet, they have you covered. So I think this is nice. This is really great. I think that you know, these are really fun sets. Like I love that they kind of like package these all together. And yeah, I think that they're sort of like a lot of fun just to watch. Uh, you know, for kids at heart, whatever. So it's good. Have you got to check these out yet?
Not yet. I'm waiting a little bit further into my holiday
Mm.
like viewing before I get to these, but I'm very excited because these holiday movies, like, while they may seem like to have like a limited like appeal, like, but they tend to be the ones that I watch the most for my collection because it's just like a yearly thing. So I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I'll know I'm gonna get. There's like some movies you're talking about later. I'm like, oh, I'll watch that every year. So, like, it's comforting, and I love having these. And like, I'm really glad to have these on 4K. It was not
Yeah.
expected, but I'm glad that they did it. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really hope there's a couple other like of these like Rankin and Bass things that would be great to have upgraded. So I hope these sell really well, and I hope that Universal keeps putting these out because yeah, they are a lot of fun.
Fingers crossed. My next title is an interesting kind of, I believe it's 80s Odyssey, yeah, 1988. It's a comedy. It is from the Vestron Collector series. This is Earth Girls Are Easy, which is just kooky fun. So you got a Jeff Goldblum here playing an alien, and Gina Davis, and then you have Damon Wayans and a young Jim Carrey, and then Julie Brown as well, who is a co-writer, and she participates a lot in the special features. So this doesn't have reversible cover art, just like normal interior. Uh, this one was one that's been on my radar for a while, mostly because of the cast. Like, I did see that this, like I said, a young Jim Carrey's like one of his first movies, and this was, even with the title "Earth Girls Are Easy," this was different than what I expected it to be. I didn't realize that it was like a pseudo musical, which really threw me off. There's a lot of like just musical sequences, which like are pretty catchy, admittedly, and like well choreographed and everything. But basically, this is like Gina Davis plays the main character, and it's all about basically how she wants nothing more than just for her fiance to just want to have sex with her and just
All right.
like really be into her and desire her and stuff. But he, for some reason, even though it's Gina Davis and she's lovely, like he just has no interest in her, and he's like kind of like starting to cheat on her and everything right before their wedding. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, this is ridiculous. But like Gina Davis, she's taking control of her sexuality. She while simultaneously, like, she's distancing herself eventually from her fiance, trying to, while simultaneously these aliens end up on Earth, like I said, played by Goldblum, Damon Wayans, and Jim Carrey, who they kind of go on their own kind of special odyssey where they're kind of she's kind of a little bit fearful of them at first, of course, because they're furry aliens, which eventually they get kind of their makeover and they turn to like their human selves. So you do get to see all these actors in the flesh, but they kind of like are learning about Earth. She's kind of learning kind of about herself more and kind of gaining confidence and all that. And it's just some really wacky fun trying to like get them back to their ship so they can leave. But there's also kind of like a romance between the Jeff Goldblum alien and um, Gina Davis, which the title, like Earth Girls Are Easy, is kind of tongue in cheek of just like Gina Davis actually says that kind of like offhanded, like she's like, I don't want you to think Earth Girls are easy, and I'm just like, ooh, it's like title within the movie. That's always fun. So yeah, it's 80s cheese. It's like not supposed to be taken seriously. Like I said, these are like furry aliens. Like you can't tell how furry they are, but they're very furry and like just like interesting like themes of like sexual desire and like liberation, and it's a fun time. It's stupid but fun. Like I'm not gonna claim this is like high art, but it like does the trick and it like delivers a solid amount of laughs, especially like I said, young Jim Carrey. You can see him just like really like kind of like moving around like in like different ways that you would see him develop in like later movies, like just like the way expresses his face and just like his mannerisms, like you can see it right there. But this, like I said, it's not amazing, but it's fun. This new Blu-ray, it's like debuting on Blu-ray, seems to come from an older master. It's in decent shape. It's pretty solid. It's basically what I've come to expect from Bestron. They don't seem to do like complete new remasters, but they deliver like a serviceable transfer. The audio is fine, but where this really excels is there's a ton of special features in this. There is a commentary from Julie Brown. There is an interview with the director, an interview with Julie, and then an interview with the DP and the production designer, each of which I think runs about 20 minutes. So they're pretty substantial each. And then there is deleted scenes. There are like trailers and just all kinds of stuff. And for a release that I believe is like right now on Amazon for like $11 or $12, that's a pretty stacked release. So they did a really nice job with this. If you had been like intrigued by this, it's a pretty inexpensive like endeavor if you want to try this out, and it's a fun time. I love Gina Davis, so I would like add it no matter what. But I'm glad that this actually did entertain me pretty decently. Earth Girls Are Easy. Vestron, I like that they keep finding these like little weird gems from the past and giving them pretty solid releases, all things considered.
Nice. Yeah, that is one that I have not seen, although I've heard a lot about. So I'm even more kind of intrigued. So
Yeah.
that one I think is definitely going to be like up there on my ever growing list of movie wants. So I have a really I was really excited because I had came very late to this series, and that is Ed, and Eddy, the complete series. And
Childhood favorite.
so here is the back and the spine. This is part of their like there's a series of three of these sets. The other set is the complete series of Courage the Cowardly Dog and the Foster's Home for Imaginary People,
Friends.
something like that.
Friends.
Friends, yes.
Imaginary friends.
Okay, so here is a nice slipcover. And here's the back, same as before. And so we have a nice like booklet that has the breakdown of the episodes, which is really nice. And then we have this again, this kind of gatefold style. Just be super careful. But yeah, so again, I was trying to think like why I never initially got into this series. I don't know if like I had maybe just slightly aged out by the time this rolled around, and maybe just kind of had moved on to other things. But over the years, I've heard a lot of really great things about it. So the series started in 1999, and yeah, it's really interesting because I don't because I kind of came late to this, I don't have like a huge nostalgia factor for this series. Having said that, I thought it was a lot of fun. It's a show that just really I think gets my kind of humor, where it's very absurd and surreal and just heightened, yet there's sort of like this like familiar, even mundane kind of setting, which I think is like what is sort of like the big selling point of this series. You know, it's like kids in a neighborhood. Everybody's kind of familiar with that, like small town, but just crazy stuff happens. So yeah, I think like this is one of these series that I think doesn't really hit its stride until maybe like a little bit later, in say like season 2 and 3. But yeah, again, I can really see the appeal. Some people have called it like an updated Three Stooges, and I can really like see that.
Yeah.
Like Three Stooges with sort of modernized and very strange bent. So yeah, and again, I think the showrunners are really smart in grounding it in something like a reality that kids can kind of relate to, but then like amped up to the extreme. And it's funny because like when I first started watching this series, it was like I felt like someone like secretly gave me speed. It was just like everything was kind of flying like at me, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it. But then I think again, as the show sort of progresses, it like doesn't like feel like the need to hammer you with all the, you know, stimuli. And yeah, it's really fantastic. I was glad to be able to again own this. Warner Brothers has been doing a good job about like doing some of their like vaulted like animation. Stuff's a little uncertain about where this stuff's going to be streaming, if at all. So just to be able to like have this set is so nice. And you know, we do have some features. I believe this was maybe ported over from like the previous like I guess maybe individual releases of this series. But yeah, it's nice because you have it all there, and it's kind of similar to the complete series of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. You know, it ported over all the legacy features into one nice set. And I will be covering some more of these in the future, so I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, if you are a fan, or if you're like me that was like kind of coming to this like brand new, it's a lot of fun. I can see why this like lasted so long. The characters are really charming, even though again, sometimes they can be a little abrasive. Are you a fan of this series?
Yeah, I said offhandedly whenever you started that it's a childhood favorite of mine. I actually like I don't remember the exact number of years, but it was probably at least 15 or so years ago whenever the seasons were first starting to be released.
Mm.
I bought the first two, and then Warner did the thing that they would do back then where they would just stop. They just like stopped releasing them after season two. As far as I remember, I don't think they ever continued past that. So I just figured there would always be this gap in my collection of just like I own these first two. Same thing happened to Foster's, which you talked about. But I was just like, okay, I have these two seasons. I'll never be able to continue it. And then suddenly, out of the blue, like a couple months ago, I got this press release that they were releasing this complete series. I was like, I will finally be able to finish this, like my collection out, even though it is like, I wish they could have done a Blu-ray, but like just having this completely on DVD in case like it's not streaming anywhere is great because this is such a fun show. And it's just like, I'm so glad to have this, and probably like the same size packaging as that I can see over here that takes up like the same amount of space on my shelf of like these two individual seasons. So
Nice.
very excited to own this. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that information about as far as like they left off after a certain amount of individual seasons. So yeah, that's even more reason to be excited for this complete series, so you could actually like complete it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for finally rectifying this, Warner. Like I needed this. I needed a win. My next title, it's a 2022 release, and that is from Lionsgate. This is Gigi and Nate, and I'm pretty sure I ended last week with a monkey movie with Bedtime Barbanzo, and I'm
Yeah.
back with another monkey movie. This is a capuchin monkey, and this is based on a real life story. And I will. There's not. There's just normal artwork in here. So this is, like I said, based on a true story. It is about a young man who I won't like go into every single aspect, but through circumstances he becomes a paraplegic, and he kind of like starts to lose his like zest for life, and um like doesn't really like have a will to live until one day he gets this service animal play or this capuchin monkey, Gigi, who has been like rescued from like this horrible like living situation and rehabilitated to be a service monkey. And so just kind of like helps him come alive once again. And there's some like subplots involving like animal rights activists trying to basically take Gigi away, but I won't like delve deep into that. But basically, what this kind of premise sets up is what you would expect. It's not like a particularly great movie. It is a very sentimental, heartfelt movie, a little bit above like a Lifetime movie, but like not quite. It's kind of like has like a mostly not very well known actors, and then Marsha Gay Harden and Jim Belushi plays the parents. So you have like some notable names. I love Marsha Gay Harden. Jim Belushi can take or leave him, but he's fine. But the storyline is basically it's serviceable. Jessica and I, my wife, we had like a fun time watching this and kind of like gently making fun of it, not maliciously, but just kind of like pointing out some of the absurd moments, but then also just like, this is fun. Like, it's fun. I'm an easy mark for animals being cute. So, like, just seeing this animal be a badass and just be cute, and it was enough. If you want like a light watch, it's not terrible. It's not great. Like, I wouldn't rush out to see this, but if you want like kind of like a light watch, it does the job. It looks great, like as a new movie should. Sounds fine. It has like an image gallery and a trailer. That's all. That's all you get. It's fine. It is what it is. So, Gigi and Nate, if you just need like kind of like a movie that that's not gonna be great, but like gives you a little bit of like fun with monkeys and like sentimentality, that's fine. Otherwise, you probably don't need to invest much time in it.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm not like, I don't know. I think like people were like, "Oh, monkeys are cute," but I feel like they can also like literally rip your face off. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, I have my final titles is a pair of, so Warner Brothers put out four stunning new 4K holiday movies. And I'm going to be doing two this week and two next week. So hunker down because we are taking the Polar Express into your nightmares. And really nice packaging. So there is the features. I believe these are also all just legacy features. Here's the inside. No, well, there will be a digital copy in, you know, if you buy this, and you should, it'll be in there. So this is interesting because this is another like movie that I kind of came to actually just with this release, because it's kind of it had a reputation for being like not good. So this was based on a children's book from 1985. And while I will say that, yeah, the people CGI is very nightmarish. It's like in that kind of uncanny valley. It's a pretty all right movie. Like it did, I mean, I want to like mention some good things about it too. Like it is very beautiful to look at despite some of the how they render people. Um the story is very charming. I definitely think that the pacing is a little awkward here, and I kind of think that maybe like 20 minutes or so could have been cut. But again, visually stunning movie, just a little bit unnerving, and it's hard because it sort of takes you out of the what they're trying to express in the movie. But I didn't absolutely hate it. I just thought it was like it was all right. So Elf is my next one, and man, this is so I have it. So here's the back. And it's the same deal. This has a digital copy that's not in there. So yeah, I love this movie. So our household tradition is we watch Elf every year, like the day after Thanksgiving. Like I'll like trim the tree and we'll watch Elf. Like that's like that kind of officially caps off or like starts the holiday season. So
Mhm.
yeah, in kind of my humble opinion, I think Elf is maybe the last like truly great like Christmas movie as in terms of like something that like the whole family could watch. So Will Ferrell really broke out in this movie from 2003. It really, I think, utilizes his big personality. I like James Caan. I like how surly and gruff he is. I think the two play off each other really nicely. I don't know if you know this, but pretty famously, they did not get along.
Yeah.
James Caan was not having a fun time with this, but I think like he backpedaled that a little bit over the years, and I think he came to like it. But yeah, it is a really fun, heartwarming modern day take on the old school holiday specials, like I just covered, like the Rankin and Bass stuff. There is, of course, there's like a moment where they do parody that stop motion stuff at the beginning, which I think was really fun. Um, it's just great. It's one of those like few like yeah, I don't I mean, how can you not love this? How can you not
Mhm.
love how dorky and absurd this is? I mean, the story is really like there's really not much of a story, but that's fine. I mean, I like how it's sort of like a connecting with your dad, but make it like this big bubbly Christmas movie. So that's pretty awesome. And it gives me just the right amount of like schmaltzy sentiment without ever really going, I think, like super overboard. So I liked it. Both of these look fantastic. I think Elf in particular, because it's not like all CGI, like you can really tell how things look a little bit cleaner, looks a little bit sharper definition wise, color wise. I mean, this is a colorful movie. They utilize New York really well. So like all those locales and the costumes, everything really just shined here in 4K. So I'm very excited that these are really getting nice releases. Again, Polar Express, I don't think was horrible. I don't think it's as bad as it the reputation would have you suggest. But yeah, it is kind of there is a lot of choices. I'll just say, but yeah.
I have three quick points before my final movie. I will make this quick. One, these will be all four of these Warner 4Ks will be DVD upgrades for me. I only have these on DVD, so this will be a substantial uptick for me. Very
Nice.
excited about that. Two, the Polar Express, I really enjoy it, and it holds a very like sentimental, nostalgic connection with my mom, who I know is a loyal viewer for this.
Nice.
She is like very one of her best Christmas memories is like taking like us to go see the Polar Express in IMAX 3D. She talks about it all the time, and I love her for that. Like she
That's
loves
awesome.
this movie, and so I love Polar Express. Three, regarding classic like the last great like classic Christmas movie. If you have not watched Klaus on Netflix, that is an awesome Christmas movie.
Okay.
So Just throwing that out there for people, not on physical media, but love that movie. Great addition to the holidays.
All right, I have to check that
That would
out.
have been, yeah, that would have been the perfect ending, like warm ending to this like whole thing. But I gotta bring us down just slightly, which I like this movie. It's just a darker subject matter.
Hmm.
This is from the MVD Rewind collection, and that is The Chocolate War, which is a really interesting movie about like social power dynamics, like teacher student dynamics, where it's kind of like showing the let me just show off the packaging real quick here. So you got this like the normal art, and then a foldable poster. Not as substantial as the Aqua Team poster, but a poster nonetheless. So yeah, this basically is like a heightened version of just like uneasy power dynamics, where in this school John Glover plays like this teacher who is like gunning to be the new headmaster, and he is introducing this program where students are supposed to sell like chocolate bars, and it kind of like devolves into almost like a like not quite Lord of the Flies esque, but like kind of just like uneasy power dynamics, and then like social pressure to like conform to this way of like you have to sell chocolates for us even though it's voluntary, but like what is voluntary and all that. So it's a really engaging drama within like this kind of like boarding school type situation where like there's peer pressure and like some violence and bullying and all this kind of stuff woven within. It's a really interesting like sociological like exploration of like the human psyche and peer pressure and all that stuff. John Glover plays like deliciously evil, and the young cast does like a really nice job. I don't think there's anyone particularly like noteworthy in like the young cast, but they all do solid. Like Ilan Mitchell Smith is like I think the main uh, cast member of like the younger set. So just perfectly like not enjoyable, engaging movie. It's kind of darker, but it's a really interesting movie, and I'm glad this is a Blu-ray debut from MVD. And but while it's like a slightly older master, I think it's a pretty solid one overall. And it has like some pretty solid special features. It has a director commentary from Keith Gordon directed this,
Oh wow.
and then yeah, and then a 52-minute interview with Keith Gordon as well, where he kind of talks about this and his career at large. So if you're a Keith Gordon fan, that's another reason to check this one out. It's really solid. I'm glad MVD put this out. And so yeah, The Chocolate War, very interesting.
Yeah, no, I have heard of that. I did not realize that Keith Gordon directed that. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
sounds like something that, just based on that alone, I would probably check out. So yeah, that's it's very, yeah, two very different titles, but
Yeah.
we like diversity. So yeah, we again have a great giveaway.
Mhm.
And all you need to do to be entered to win that is just yep, these beautiful titles, some great documentaries, and just comment and let us know what title we talked about that you're most excited for. And that's all you need to do. So as always, give this a like, comment again to win, and thanks for hanging out with us.